Well, hello there, and welcome to another tank review. I'm Corny Swiss, and today we're looking at the ZSU-57-2, a rank 5, Soviet AAA gun at a 7.0 battle rating. And if you want to see something in particular in this review, maybe you don't want to listen to the garage section but want to see gameplay, there will be simulator and realistic clips, timestamp down below, and a final opinion. Feel free to check that out if that's what you want to do. If you want to hear the garage portion, let's get started. But before I get started with the garage portion, I wanted to also take a minute to give you the backstory of this tank, why it was developed, and sort of just that type of thing. In World War II, we saw sort of the increased popularity, I guess, of ground attack aircraft, things like Stukas, things like any number of aircraft that were primarily focused on delivering ordnance to ground forces, to enemy ground forces, hopefully. So, after World War II, the American and British air forces were adept at attacking targets on the ground, either with bombers or designated fighters or fighter bombers, whatever. They could do it, and they were good at it, and they had lots of pilots who had done countless missions in that type of role. So when the Cold War starts to break out, the Soviet Union was at a severe lack of these sort of dedicated anti-aircraft machines that could deal with these threats. You really didn't have a solid answer. The answer most nations really had was converted, like half-track type things, but then also horse-drawn AAA guns, and that's mainly what the Soviets had. So once the war ended, there was a pressing need for this, and Soviet designers in 1948 to 1955 started producing prototypes and testing this model. In 1955, it entered service with the Soviet Union and would continue to see service until about 1960s, when it was in fact replaced with radar-guided anti-aircraft guns, because Korean-era jets and subsequent jets were too fast for this thing to track. I mean, those jets would just be blitzing across the sky, and this thing couldn't put enough fire into the air to stop them. So you needed something that could track things at that speed. And then eventually it would lead to things like SAM sites and missiles and such things like that. We're still in the old lob shells at them until I died phase. But as the name suggests, this machine has twin 57mm cannons. They are the S60 and they're S60 and S68A. That's a tongue twister if you ever want one. S60 and S68A. There you go. Those are hard. Those were the cannons this gun was equipped with. The one in game has the S68 cannons, which are just a different version of the same 57mm gun. Now, something to note. When you look at this tank, it looks an awful lot like a T-54 just from the chassis. And you'd be right in saying that. This is in fact basically a T-54 chassis. However, it's a very, very light T-54 chassis. It's 28 tons for the whole tank. That's with this giant turret and these two 57mm cannons and tons of ammo for these 57mm cannons. However, it has the same engine as the T-54 and the same top speed. This thing has about an 18.5 power-to-weight ratio, horsepower per ton. So this thing isn't slow by any stretch of imagination. It can move. It can shift very quickly. And that's due to the superior acceleration from it being lighter and having a powerful engine. But why is it lighter? Let's look at the armor profile. So when we flash it up, the armor says it's 15, 15, and 10 for the hull, 15, 13, and 13 for the turret. Okay, how much of that should we buy? Well, on the hull, it's 13.5 millimeters thick. With sloping, it's about 23, 24, about there. You do have this section of track, though, that may or may not save your life once in a while, that it happens to be 18 millimeters thick, and I guess counts as spaced armor. Down here is where the 15 millimeters are. It's 15 millimeters, and it's actually sloped back to equal about 30 or so. So that's where your 15 millimeters armor is. So just ask the enemy to try and shoot you there, but even then, you're kind of boned. It's only 15 millimeters of armor. The front of the turret, yeah, it's 15. That's true. But it is exactly 15. Sloping will not save you in this situation. And they did not lie about the side armor, that's 15, or the side of the turret, 13.5. Neither did they lie about the back of the tank, 10 millimeters, 13.5 millimeters. What does that mean? This thing literally has papier-mâché as armor. If you get hit, you will take damage, and you may or may not die, but you will most likely die. Being one-shot in this thing is in fact extremely common. Now, in one of the clips, you're going to see a portion of a battle where I got lucky. Don't know what happened. I got set on fire a bunch, but we put them out, and we killed them. You're going to see that, and it's going to be epic. Probably timestamp that by itself, just because it's a fun little clip. And shows you kind of the power of this machine. So in terms of armor, what armor? There isn't any. Bouncing shots with this thing is rare, and more often than not, it's because they just didn't the hit right here. They hit like your track. Like right there. That's about it. But surely in this thinly armored turret, there's not just shit tons of ammo. Oh my lord, there's shit tons of ammo in the turret. This thing is an ammo box waiting to explode, is basically the message you should get out of this. Here's your driver. Yeah, he's just chilling. This is basically a T-54 setup down here. Driver and a fuel tank. No problems. That's basically a T-54. You have your radiator, transmission, engine, fuel tank. You got all kinds of stuff back here. What's in the turret? Well, you have these two massive 57mm guns. Ammo. 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 And there's a little bit more ammo under here. So what you're telling me is that if I get hit basically anywhere in the turret, my tank is liable to explode due to an ammo rack. Yes, that is in fact exactly what I'm saying. Because you think about it, if they shoot you in the, let's say you're looking directly at them, shoot you in the face of your turret, they're either going to hit here, in between your guns, or here. Probably not up here. Alright, so they shoot me here. Oh my god, that's ammo. Probably going to go through the ammo, explode, probably hit this guy, the gunner, on the way through, and definitely hit this ammo on the way out. And the shell will get out, or just explode inside the tank, but it doesn't really matter. It'll still blow you up. Same thing on the other side. More likely than not to hit this ammo. If they shoot high, kill the loader, still kill crew. However, the shell will probably explode and just kill everybody. Or it'll ricochet, or something. Something will happen and you will die. That is the net of this story. I think I've been hit in the front of my hull and been just gutted all the way through my tank. Just a straight line through the tank. Just killed everything. Everyone was dead. It was really bad. It's like an APCR shell that splintered and just killed everyone. It was horrible. So from this you should be able to see that there is no armor and there is lots of ammo. But that's not as big a problem as you would think. And the reason I say that is the guns. And this surprises people, and the first time I played it was actually very surprising to me as well. But we're going to bring up the ammo. So you start with this default, which is, it has two types of round in it. You have a high explosive fragmentation round, which is basically an HE round. And then you have this AP high explosive shell. Now the AP is the money maker in this tank. But you'll note that it only has 115 millimeters penetration at 10 meters, and it goes down progressively from there. At 500 meters, you have just under 100 millimeters penetration. It's not great, but the important thing to note, out to 1,000 millimeters, out to 1,000 meters, you have enough penetration to penetrate the side of German tanks. And out to 2,000 meters, you still have enough to penetrate Panther tanks. So that's something, you can kill a Jagdtiger with this thing from the side at 1,000 meters. It's pretty good. And you get 4 shots to do it of 2 rounds each. Basically, if you connect with the side of a tank in this thing, they are more than not likely to die, which is fantastic. And then you have the BR-281 ammo, which is the same thing as the default, except now you just have a rack of pure AP high explosive shell, which is fine, and it has the same penetration values. You have this, which is a high explosive incendiary round. It's basically HE, 6 millimeters penetration at all ranges. That sounds fantastic. Sign me up. No, it's really, really bad. There was a bug in one game where I accidentally had my entire loadout switched to this round. It was horrible. I couldn't damage anything. I couldn't kill AI. I couldn't kill players. I shot AAA, and they only just died. It's really bad. But then you come to the final ammo choice, the BR-28-1U, armor-piercing tracer shell. This shell is what you want to use in this tank. It is the last one you unlock, but this is what you want. It has 132 millimeters penetration at 10 meters, but the key thing is, out to 2,000 meters, you have enough penetration to get through the side of German tanks. Every German tank. At 2,000 meters, you can and will penetrate the side of the tank if you hit them right. 1,000 meters, you have over 100 millimeters of penetration. You can penetrate the front of a Porsche variant of the King Tiger at 1,000 meters and have a shot of penetrating at just under 1,500 meters. This thing can engage early King Tigers at most ranges, just about all ranges. Now the Henschel turret is a little different because it is much thicker and it's a little weirder. However, in one of the clips you're going to see, I do engage a Henschel turret and destroy it, but mainly because I punched through, I believe, the top of his turret rather than the sides or the face of the turret. But the thing to note is that Panther tanks, Porsche turreted Tiger tanks, you can kill from the front. Jagd Panthers, you can kill them from the front with this ammunition. It has just enough penetration to get the job done, which is fantastic. Now, I had to do some outside research to determine what the muzzle velocity is because it's not actually listed in the game. To my understanding, the best I could find is that it has about 1,000 meters per second muzzle velocity, which is good. That's German level muzzle velocity and would make sense considering this thing is designed as anti-aircraft. It needs to fire quick moving shells to hit those things. So we talked about the ammunition. The rate of fire, 120 rounds per minute. Alright, now if you divide that in half, that's how many times the guns actually fire, because these are twin guns. They fire at the same time. So you'll be able to pull the trigger once every second, just about. The reload rate, 2.5 seconds. I don't think you can get it any lower than that. But 2.5 seconds, you basically empty a shell, or empty a clip, in about that much time. So it's basically, you're just spamming rounds everywhere, and you're going to see that. There's going to be a lot of rounds going down range in some portions of these replays. And you carry 248 rounds. That's 30 clips of 4 apiece, I believe. I probably didn't do the math right. But you get 30 clips. So take it as you will. And I load only that AP. That's all I load in this tank. Now, one of the reasons I think, quite frankly, I think this thing might be a little overpowered in some situations is the turret rotation speed. 60 degrees a second. What does that mean? That means if someone sneaks up on you, more often than not, 90% of the time, you have the turret rotation speed to swing that turret around and still get the first shot, even though they surprised you. Because more often than not, they're going to stop and they're going to let their gun settle and then shoot you. Now, if they shoot you, you're probably dead. But when you're swinging that turret around, like I said, 60 degrees a second, you can make that a full 360 in 6 seconds. You can basically swing that turret and get rounds on target very fast. And you'll probably get 2 little volleys off. And if one of those knocks out their gunner, that tank is toast. You're going to see clips, you're going to see a clip in particular where that happens. And I'm able to survive against superior it's really superior tanks and superior numbers. But that's where this thing is great. When I think of this tank, I think of an AMX, like any of the AMX light tanks in World of Tanks. I'm not going to name one because this tank is kind of all of them, except the guns are always firing and you don't run out of ammunition. That's what we're talking about here. It's very fun to drive. Let's just say that straight up. You will get knocked out a lot, but it's fun to drive. So, yeah. The armor, pretty buns. The layout, pretty buns. The guns, everything you wanted in a quick-firing AAA gun. And I don't think I mentioned it. If you hit a plane with these guns, that thing's falling out of the sky. I haven't been able to shoot many planes down because for some reason people aren't flying them as much. But I've been able to shoot down AI. And you also got to remember, I'm kind of a bun shot. I'm not a very good shot. But I was able to hit an AI with 2 rounds. So 1 from each gun. So fire at the same time. It was a Dornier and it exploded. It was over. It was done. The thing, it fell right out of the sky. No problems. If you hit an enemy plane with this tank, they will explode. It's over. I mean, it's like hitting them with a 50mm gun off like the Narwhal plane or any other plane with a huge cannon on it. Something about Russians and putting cannons, big cannons on things that may not necessarily need them. So that's kind of the garage portion of this review. To overview, the armor, there isn't any. It's papier-mâché. Just don't worry about it. It's fast, though. It's light and it has a powerful engine. The guns, very strong. If this thing had armor and it had these guns, it would be an excellent anti-tank machine. If I was to build a tank in this game and make it just brokenly overpowered as I want, I would probably take the IS-4 hull. Well, no, I would take the Jagdtiger hull, strap on armor on the sides like spaced armor, put a little spaced armor on the front on the lower plate just to make that a little thicker, slap a pair of these guns on it, or even a quad mount, and then give it a more powerful engine. That'd basically be my OP tank. These are the guns I want. You know, other guns are great. These guns are all I need. So, with that being said, let's jump into some replays. So I decided to start with a simulator battle. And this battle contains a clip that I hope it's going to be timestamped by itself. Probably going to end up in its own video just to make sure everyone sees it. Because it really speaks to how overpowered this tank can be. And because it's kind of cool. So, just heads up there. I'm driving around on Carpathians. This is simulator mode. Now, driving AAA in simulator is a little bit weird because there aren't any aircraft to shoot, which is unfortunate. When they bring back combined arms for a simulator battle, I think we're definitely going to see, it'll become less weird that you're driving AAA in a simulator battle. But I'd already been playing this in realistic, and I kind of determined that it was viable still. I didn't want to take a tank that I didn't think was viable into a simulator battle. I wanted to take a tank that I knew could be effective against other tanks. So, we're about to come up on a Panther and 2 King Tigers. I'm not going to speak very much in this replay. I want you to see what happens for yourself. And then I'm going to talk about it after, if that's cool. So we're going to come up over this ridge, and shit's going to get real. Alright, so let's talk about what just happened. The first thing that happened was you saw that the Panther came around the corner, and thanks to the quick turret rotation, I was able to put shells. One shot in particular, the first shot I fired went clean through his turret and knocked out his tank. Probably blew up his ammo rack or something. In And then at that time, the two King Tigers, both Porsche variants, came over the top of the hill. I was trying to shell them before they came up, hoping to kill a gunner or something like that, because I knew I was figuring I'd be toast. The first one fires, lights me on fire. The second one doesn't get a chance to fire because I believe I had disabled him in some fashion. The first tank fires again and sets me on fire again. I called in Artie on the second King Tiger, the one who came over second, and then proceeded to shoot him a little bit, disabled him to the point where I could then attack the first King Tiger, disable him, and then I basically disabled one, killed the other, killed the other. That's kind of, when you have multiple threats, it's more often than not very difficult to deal with them in most tanks. That's where this tank kind of excels. Now, the place, I should have been dead. I should have been knocked out immediately. The first shot the King Tiger fired should have killed me. I would have certainly killed the Panther, because that one was all fair. He came around the corner, I was sitting there, I shot him, boom, he's dead. The other two, I'm not sure why I lived. I don't think I should have. I definitely should have died. But I wanted especially to highlight that clip just because of how relevant it is, that the fact that this gun can rotate so fast and has such a great rate of fire and has the penetration it has on armor-piercing rounds, that I can believe that this thing was actually used in the ground support role to some degree by Soviet forces. It wasn't a great AAA gun, but it was certainly a decent one, and it was certainly a decent support tank. And that's your role in this tank. Your role is to support your other tanks and help them by just shelling targets, disabling targets, until they just give up or just die. You see, I get my gun on target and give the good news to that Panther. And now we have a Porsche Tiger out there who also got the good news. And actually, I didn't kill the Panther, I only set him on fire. But he was so ravaged and disabled by the first volley salvo that he had to repair. He had to do something. He couldn't just sit there. I had basically 8 seconds to deal with the King Tiger, and we dealt with him well under 8 seconds. Now, the thing to take away from both of these engagements is the fact that this tank, if you get the first shot off, more often than not, you can just win. There isn't really and here you're going to see where this tank kind of struggles. Okay, so I've killed his gunner. I don't have any more fire extinguishers, which is an issue for me. I'm shelling the front of his turret, but I don't really have the penetration to kill him. I would need to get around him, do something of that nature to kill him, but I am causing damage, and that's, I guess, the good thing. But eventually, there goes one of my guns. Eventually, I'm just going to burn out. I actually can't fire anymore. And I'm just going to watch the fire eat me alive. And the Tiger 2 is credited with the kill. However, I believe I'm going to get credit for his death, because I think he's just going to wreck. I don't remember exactly what happens. But he dies. Or someone kills him. Or something. He does die, though. But you can see what I mean. Even against a tank that is equipped to deal with the volume of fire and has plenty of penetration and armor to knock this tank out. I think that was him getting knocked. Oh, that was another Panther. You can still damage them. You can still cause problems. If he hadn't lit me on fire, what I would have done is tried to get on his side and shoot him in the side and just outright kill him. Something else you can do in this tank that you can't do in most other tanks is speculate. I don't know where that guy is. I have a good idea because he just fired. So I'm just going to spam rounds in his general area, slowly adjust until I find him. I've actually killed multiple tanks over ridge lines by doing this, where they're far enough away where I just sort of shoot it just over the ridge line and then work either right to left or left to right, depending on where I think he is. And I'll knock out a Yak Panther by hitting it in the side because he thought he was safe on the other side of the little hill, and I just found him eventually. It's pretty fun when it happens. But the SU-122P cleans that guy up. I didn't want to go that close. Something you definitely need to keep in mind with this tank is you are made of papier-mâché, and the enemy will not waste a second in executing you. So it's important to make sure you're not the first person they shoot at. Ideally, you're not the first person they see. If you're the first person they see, it's generally not a good day for you. My preferred strategy in this tank is to stick with medium tanks, whether they're T-44s or T-54s. Generally, at this day and age in the game, people consider a T-44 and a T-54 way more of a threat. And a T-54 for sure is way more of a threat to their survival than a ZSU-57-2. However, that's going to change. I think as you see more of these things, it's going to become execute that tank, because he'll kill all of us, all 5 of us on this corner, if we give him half the opportunity. Which is why if the Germans had a similar tank, because as far as I can tell, I haven't been able to play all the German AAA, but the German AAA doesn't seem to have the power factor behind these 57mm guns. They all have like 37mm guns, which can be effective, but they're not really built to penetrate tanks. They're built for shooting aircraft. Like, silly idea, right? You should always shoot tanks. But here, we're going to roll up on another King Tiger, I believe. Hello! First few shots, he actually gets my horizontal drive in the course of that little firing. Or someone did. I don't know if it was actually him or another tank, but suffice to say, I'm disabled. But I was able to get all 4 of my shells on target, knocked him out. The side of a tank, no problem. A lot of times you'll one-shot him, but sometimes you need those extra shots. Something else to note, you haven't really seen in this replay because I haven't been engaging at that long a range. When you fire quickly, the shells tend to go low because the gun doesn't get to settle again. I think when this gun fires, it excuse me, it goes up, the recoil pulls the gun up, and then it goes down, and that's when the next shell fires, if that makes any sense. So your gun actually ends up firing from a lower position than where you're actually trying to aim it. So it's important when you're firing quickly to not get caught up in it and let your shots aim a little bit. And another issue you're going to have in this tank, when you're firing the AP rounds, when you start unloading, when you just hold down the trigger, the variation on where they go becomes really, really bad. You can only really spray with this tank at really close range. Like when I was fighting the King Tigers, you might have seen it, where the shells were hitting their upper plate as well, and you're not going to penetrate that. So what I'm doing right here, I'm kind of trying to call my teammates and say, hey, there's a guy over here. You know, there's a medium tank over here. Eventually I'm going to get bored because I'm like, well, the game's just about over, and there's only like 1 tank left. I might as well just YOLO this guy. Who knows, maybe he's not looking at me. Hopefully he's not, because if he is, I'm probably toast. He's going to see me and just wreck me. But I am going to fire some speculatory shots to kind of check. I have an idea where he is, so if I kind of just scan that area, maybe I'll just hit him and knock him out or damage him so that he doesn't get that first shot. But as it turns out, this guy was looking completely the wrong way. I mean, it's not that big a deal. I mean, he would probably expect us to come that way, but at the same time, we're actually stopping the cap right now. Oh no, his turret was actually turned the other way. Lol. Probably should have just turned the whole tank, but that's fine. He had to react to a changing battle, and I can understand that. But we're going to come over here, and we're actually going to spot another tank. But he's way out there, so this could be difficult. But to cut a story short, I'm not going to be able to nail this guy. I give it a go, that's for sure. Someone else is going to get him. We're going to win the game by destroying all hostile vehicles. So let's go ahead and jump to the post-battle screen. So, kind of thanks to that early sequence with the King Tigers, I ended up knocking out 7 tanks in this machine. And obviously came first on the team, because I knocked out just about their entire team. That's kind of a testament to how overpowered this thing can be in the right situations. So here we are in a realistic battle in the ZSU-57-2. And I kind of apologize, but all the replays you're going to see are either on Ash River or Carpathians. And the reason is that Ash River is actually a map that's pretty good for the ZSU. Now, this is definitely a tank that, in my opinion, you should always go south with, regardless of where the cap is, regardless of where the objective is. The reason I say that is, this tank will struggle against things like Yag Tigers, Henschel turreted King Tigers. So you really don't want to run into those guys in the front. This southern part of the map allows you to use different avenues of approach to cut off those. Basically, there's more sneaky ways to get to the enemy. And also, honestly, it's better when the cap isn't around here, because less enemies are here. You can take this ridge, knock out whoever is here, and then provide supporting fire from the southern ridge, which is actually a very effective strategy in this tank. And like I said in the garage portion, this tank can certainly one-shot things, that's for sure. However, it is really light, so it is certainly more difficult to run over trees. Something to keep in mind. But my goal here is basically, one, don't die to this premium Jagdpanther, but as you can see, my first sort of volley actually disabled most of his tank. Second volley didn't do a whole lot. You just aim, kind of spam him a little bit, end up killing him. The thing with the Jagdpanther is at certain range, at long range, you don't really have a hope of penetrating his front. But the thing is, if you can penetrate, more often than not, you're actually going to cause serious damage, because these shells are going to be entering in two different places. And that means basically if you aim in the general area of the gunner, you don't actually have to hit the dude. You're going to wreck him anyway, because even if both shells miss, they're going to kill him anyway. So I guess the point is that the way the guns are positioned are actually really, really helpful. The fact that they don't really converge. Now we have a little bit of an issue here. We have two Jagdpanthers that are sitting over here, which is obviously an issue because two of them taking multiple tanks on in this machine is difficult when they're ready for you. There's one up on the ridge, and I'm going to shoot at him a little bit and get a couple hits on him, but not really cause serious damage. Now this Panther gets the good news, that's for sure, and he's going to try and back up. Now, in hindsight, he probably should have gone forward, because if he goes forward, it's less likely that I'll be able to shoot him and he maybe can get under the gun. Right there, I took a hit from the Jagdpanther, which is really unfortunate for me. However, he only knocked out my, I believe, vertical turret drive. Don't ask me how I survived the hit. That must have meant he hit my turret. If he hit my turret, I should have exploded, but for some reason I didn't. So I'm going to sit back in this little cubby hole and go for a repair. And honestly, I was counting my lucky stars right here. I'm like, oh my god. See, there's the bullet hole right there. The shell hole. Like, what? That definitely should have cooked some ammo or something. It must have hit just below or in between or something. We were definitely playing some risky games over there. But what's the net so far? So far, I've killed 2 enemy tanks, a Jagdpanther and a Panther. And I'm currently shelling this other Jagdpanther. Basically, I'm making it so that if he comes out to shoot me, he should get the good news. But probably not, because of how sloped his armor is and the position he's in. It's difficult. I'm going to call Artie again on him, though. And he's actually coming down off the rock. So I'm going to take a second to type it to my teammates and tell them, hey, he's coming down, so that they're ready for him so he doesn't really surprise them by all of a sudden being there. But teammates are going to take him out. That first heavy tank there, the IS-2, knew what he was doing. It's going to knock him out. There it goes. But now this was odd. That Panther must have been, well, AI Panther must have been sour with life. It's actually, this seems like a really difficult shot. I think I just missed. But there's a bunch of AI down here, and I'm looking for players. I don't much care about the AI, and I spot these 2 heavy tanks just chilling over there. This heavy tank is coming across the bridge for some reason. I'm not sure why. First shot is going to get his loader. Second shot doesn't do a whole lot. But you'll notice here, he's still turning his turret, and I got my whole second clip into him. I only had 2 rounds in the first clip, granted. But I was basically able to fire 2 shots, reload, fire 4 more, and knock him out before he ever got a chance to shoot me. That's kind of the power of this tank in the sense that if you can post up and ambush people, your rate of fire is so extreme that they don't stand a chance at all. I mean, even though these are AI, you can see that I'm causing some serious pain for them. And this other King Tiger is making a little bit of an interesting move. I'm actually going to tell my teammates that, you know, he's in our spawn. And I think someone's going to say, no, he's not, or something like that. But I did just see him, so I'm going to go investigate. I'm going to check this out. I'm going to make it happen. I'm taking some shots at that AI down there. Going to give him the good news as well. Might as well clean up, you know. But I'm going to make a run back here to our spawn and try and give this King Tiger the good news. Because that's what we're in the business of here at CornyBros. Giving enemy players the good news about our Lord and Savior ZSU-57-2. But you can kind of see here, this thing gets up to speed pretty quick. We're already going the full speed until I turned there and I kind of killed all the speed. But it's true with every tank. It's light, it's maneuverable, and has a really quick turret. It's basically your perfect knife fighter. Just don't get hit, and you'll be okay. But that's the same with every tank, isn't it? Coming around over here, I'm not sure where the King Tiger went. And based on where he's going to be when I find him, I'm not sure what his plan was. I'm really not. We're going to see him over here moving into the AAA field, which is odd. Like, I saw that AI round come in, and I'm like, what? Oh my god, he's right there. Like, what the heck? I'm not sure what he was doing here. But he's going to get the good news. And that's basically going to be on this replay. We've killed everybody. They're all dead. So, we've secured one of the zones. Apparently there's a B to capture as well. I think that was one of those like cargo drops or things like that. Honestly, I'm busy killing tanks. Can't be bothered. But hostile team has lost all their vehicles. Ticker's going to climb all the way down. And then we're going to go to the results screen on another good win. The thing to remember with this tank is you have no armor. It's key to either move with a group or be able to post up in like an ambush position to effectively use that rate of fire and that quick turret traverse. But it is a fun tank to drive. No doubt about it. Very fun tank to drive, that's for sure. So one more replay for the ZSU-57-2 replay, or review. In this battle, I'm going to show more of what the strategy should be with this tank. But then I'm going to go gun-ho, obviously, because that's just what you do in the thick of battle, right? My initial plan here is to stick with this T-54 right next to me. We're going to be best friends this game. I'm going to hang out with him, we're going to get beers together, and we're going to shoot at enemy tanks together. It's going to be great. Because he has something that I don't have, which is armor. He can actually take a hit or two. I can't. However, my gun is just as effective as his. Because when you think about it, what surface can he penetrate on, let's say, a Yak Tiger? He can penetrate the lower plate and the sides and rear. Alright? What can I penetrate on a Yak Tiger? Lower plate is iffy. At close range, certainly I can deal with a lower plate. Sides, just about any range. Rear, just about any range. So essentially, my twin 57s are basically as effective as his 100mm gun. The only difference is that when he hits something the first time, it's more often than not a kill. And actually, I made a mistake here. I thought he was going to go up the hill, which is where I was thinking we were going to go, but I back up to let him go first because I don't want to get shot first. If he gets shot first, he'll more likely survive, and I'll probably be able to shoot whatever shot him, which is nice. But we're just kind of cruising along up here We have another medium trying to catch up, but it's basically just me and this guy. I can keep up with him because, you know, we're basically the same tank, we're the same engine, and I'm lighter, so I can just keep up all day long. We do spot an enemy tank destroyer down on the downslope though, and it's a Ferdinand, I believe. He's going to go over first and engage. Okay, that's ideal for me. The Ferdy fires. Oh no, it's a King Tiger. Lol. Well, this King Tiger gets the good news. As you can see, I just fired 8 shots. That dude's probably not even halfway through his reload right now. That's where this thing is the perfect ambushing tank. And you can kind of see there what I'm talking about with the shell dispersal. Also, I don't know how this Ferdy was able to shoot me and only kill my driver and not just blow me up. But either way, I'm going to get my driver back. I'm just shelling this guy because it says I've knocked out his cannon barrel, but I don't believe it. I've been shot plenty of times by tanks that probably shouldn't have been able to shoot me. And also, there's a Jagdtiger up here and that I'm trying to... Basically, my goal there was I knew I wasn't going to knock him out like that. So instead, I shot his... I was trying to shoot his gun. Basically, just try and save the T-54. But the T-54 had it all day. He knocks out the Jagdtiger. I'm looking at my tank now. I was basically reverse side scraping and using all 10 millimeters of my ass armor to try and deal with him. And we're just shelling this Ferdinand. He's got to be sour. He's been set on fire by the T-54. And right now I'm going to move in and flank this guy. And I'm actually going to knock him out, which is cool. And the main reason I decided, okay, I was going to just let this guy rot for the T-54, but he took a shot at me, which means he's still kind of dangerous, which is no good by me. So I'm basically going to roll up next to him and just put him out of his misery and execute him. And here we're going to come across another enemy tank who is out in that field over there. I thought he might have been on the hill, but he is in fact in the field at the base of the hill. So I'm trying to jump behind this Ferdy for cover, but it does disappear, which is unfortunate. And boom, now I've spotted him. The T-54 took a shot at him. And I'm going to start shelling this guy and definitely giving him all the good news we got. It's a Henschel turret Tiger, which means I realistically should be going for the face of his turret, trying to knock out his gun, get his gunner, do something like that, be mean. And it's going to be difficult for me to kill him at this range. However, he did just knock out the T-54. So it was basically my job. Somewhere along the line, though, I believe his gun gets knocked out. And I'm actually looking up there for... There's another T-54 who just showed up. And this Tiger actually loses his gun at some point. I don't know when. But he's going to give me enough of the tank to shoot, and I'm going to get kind of lucky and just kill him. I think he might have been wrecking, and because I think his gun got blown out, and then I was shooting him, so he wrecked. So I might have robbed the kill from that other T-54, but at the same time, I've been shooting him for a long time. I deserved it. I worked. And that's basically going to be the end of this replay. We are going to run around. It's basically done. We win. It was very short, but I still wanted to include it. Alright, so opinion time. What do I think of the ZSU-57-2? This tank is... I would equate this tank to an AMX 1375, AMX 1390, whatever those AMX tanks are in World Tanks. This is a quick machine, 0 armor, with very powerful quick-firing guns. The difference between the AMXs and this tank is that this tank doesn't sit around for a minute to reload. This tank reloads in 2.5 seconds. So basically you're just constantly shooting. Now, I think this tank is the perfect ambusher. In my experience, this tank plays way better in Simulator. Because in Simulator, it's easier for you to sort of ambush opponents. It's not obvious where you are. You're more often than not able to sneak up on people because they're in sniper view or whatever, and they're not looking at their mini-map, and boom, you're right next to them and you're killing them. The thing with realistic is that everyone gets that marker above you, and it basically takes away the element of stealth. you have to play this thing more like a traditional light tank, where you just can't take a hit and you have to get in people's faces, and that's okay. I've been able to do that successfully with this tank, and I'm by no means a great player. The key to take away from this tank, though, is that you're more likely to be successful in an ambushing type of role or a support fire type of role. Honestly, I think if they kept track of how many supporting fire medals you could get, this tank would get all of them. Just basically shoot at everything. You have enough ammo, you have the rate of fire, why not? It's quick, it can keep up with the mediums, and it has enough firepower to deal with every threat it faces in most scenarios. The weakness it has, obviously, is the armor. If you get hit, you're going to die, but that's why you need to be with other tanks. Driving around, I think the perfect platoon would be 2 T-54s, an IS-4, and a ZSU-57-2. If I could get a 4-man platoon and have those tanks, I would have that. That would be my premier tank little group. We would roll around together. T-54s kind of, in some ways, scout, sort of. They're moving a little bit ahead. ZSU kind of with the IS-4 kind of coming next in like a 2x2, with the IS-4 being on the side where we're expecting fire to come from. You don't want the ZSU to be exposed to incoming fire. And just about use the IS-4 as cover. Let the IS-4 angle in front of the ZSU, and the ZSU shoot over his engine deck. I think that platoon of 2 T-54s, an IS-4, and a ZSU-57-2, I think is ideal. You have the ability to deal with aircraft, because the ZSU is in fact a AAA gun, and it can deal with AAA guns. Or, not AAA guns, planes. You have the rate of fire advantage with the ZSU plus the 2 T-54s. And you have the punch of a 122mm gun. That's, I think, a very deadly combo. That's a platoon I think would win just about every game, minus extenuating circumstances. So, if it's not obvious, my opinion is this is a super fun tank. It shouldn't be your first rank 5. Your first rank 5 should be the T-54s. I think both of them. I haven't gotten I guess now the first T-54, the 1946 variant. I really want it, though, and I hope I get it really soon. But the T-54s are the best option, because they just have a little bit of everything. The IS-4, I think, is still the second option. And the IS-3 and the IS-4 are still the second line, because they have that kick gun that's just going to wreck everything, and they do have plenty of armor. Well, IS-3 less so, but IS-4 has a lot of armor. You can angle really well. The ZSU, I think you need to play rank 5 a little bit and have an idea of how battles unfold in Realistic and Simulator and all the maps before you can really take it out and be effective. It has a learning curve, that's for sure, because if you go in traditional tank-on-tanking fighting, more often than not you're going to get one shot. You will come out of some engagements unscathed and with lots of kills, but most of the time you're just going to get one shot straight up. You know, most people aren't going to miss the front of the turret of this thing, and they're just going to wreck you. So, it's a really fun tank. It's a really good tank, in my opinion. However, it does have a learning curve, and you should be aware of that before you make the commitment to grind out this tree. But I think if you make the commitment, I don't think you'll be sad about what you get in the end. Right? You'll be used to sort of playing this style of tank for a long time, and I think you'll benefit from it. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please drop them down in the comments section. I'll be more than happy to answer, or whatever the appropriate response is. And thank you for joining me. I've been Corny Swiss, and I'll see you next time.